guys!
Hey guys!
We're back with another Walking Dead review, this time reviewing The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 5, titled Go-Getters. If you haven't seen it yet and you want to avoid any spoilers, skip this video and come back later, because everything we say from this point forward is going to be a spoiler. So the very first thing we want to talk about in this video is Maggie's medical diagnosis by the doctor at the hilltop.
It wasn't a very good way for them to go because abruptia placentae happens after 20 weeks of pregnancy, so that's 5 months. Her stomach is completely flat. At 5 months, you have a very distinct baby bump. So it's not really plausible as an explanation. Not only that, he made a point of mentioning that it would have been a very small abruption, which typically aren't seen using ultrasound. They're detected utilizing blood panels that you would run and like a pelvic exam. Like, it's a combination of things, and they couldn't run any blood panels, so how did he come up with this diagnosis? A much more likely and plausible explanation would have been placenta previa. If she had like mild placenta previa as the uterus expands. Placenta previa is the placenta over the cervix. So as the uterus expands, the placenta pulls upward, ripping off of the opposite side wall as it's expanding, which causes intense cramping and bleeding, very much like her symptoms.
Now granted, this is a television show, it's fiction, so they can take some artistic license. However, there was a much better diagnosis they could have gone with.
Like, even less than 20 weeks, you wouldn't really diagnose somebody with placenta previa, but you could have the placenta develop there. It would cause these same symptoms. It's basically placenta previa. So, like, there was a much, much more plausible explanation that they could have used, and I really don't understand why they didn't, because placenta previa is definitely diagnosed using ultrasound, and ultrasound alone.
And that's all we have to say about the medical stuff from this episode. Moving on to Gregory. Oh my god, that guy is the worst. But he just has these things that he does. Like, he says, I can't keep track of everyone. Dude, you're in charge.
Yeah, that's kind of your job.
That's in the description, man. What? And then he calls everybody by the wrong name.
Yeah, and I think he does it purposefully.
Oh, yeah,
I don't
for
think
sure.
that's why you can't keep track of everybody. I think he does it on purpose. I think he's on a power trip, and this is his way of kind of showing off that he's in charge. And I love that Jesus has already figured out that Maggie's going to be in charge. Like, he's like, okay, now I'm standing up to him because there's somebody better to take over. And I think Maggie just assumes he's talking about Sasha because her mind's not in the right place right now.
Yeah.
But that's why he was like, oh, we'll talk about it at another time. Because it's Maggie. It's definitely Maggie.
And during the Walker incursion, Maggie took charge. Like, she was barking out orders, and people were following them.
Yes.
People from the hilltop who don't know her from Adam.
Yeah, she's
or
like, you
Eve.
do this,
Yeah.
you do this.
And they jumped into action like that. Like, okay, this is what we do.
Yes, and it's because she's a natural leader.
Yeah.
People naturally want to just listen to what she's saying. When panic ensues, typically people just freeze. They don't know what to do, and it takes a natural leader to assess the situation and dole out responsibilities, because if you don't tell people what to do, they're not going to do anything.
And just the way she led, like, one thing you do in some kind of like a medical emergency, you point to someone and say, you call 911. She was pointing to people and giving them specific orders, and in that kind of situation, that's exactly what you got to do.
Yeah, and not only that, she jumped into the fray. She knew that they had to stop the music. She had watched Sasha try to get into the car and fail because it was all locked up. And she immediately came up with a plan, got in a tractor and smashed the car until the music...
killed a bunch of walkers
and
at the
killed a
same
bunch
time.
of walkers until the music stopped. So, like, she took action and didn't just dole out responsibility, but was in the fray herself.
Yeah, she wasn't some general leading from behind the front lines. She
No.
got in there and got her hands dirty too. In short story, Maggie's awesome.
Yeah, Maggie is... This was a great Maggie episode because you can tell, and gosh, the actress did such a phenomenal job, because you could tell through the episode that Maggie was in pain. She was hurting. But through that, she was maintaining composure and doing what needed to be done. Not just in the panic of the walkers, but the entire time she was there. From the moment she woke up, you could see the hurt etched on her face, but she knew she had to move forward, that this couldn't stop her.
And I loved her line when Maggie and Sasha were talking about Gregory, and Sasha goes, "He's an idiot." And Maggie says, "No, he's a coward, and they're more dangerous." And she is absolutely right.
Yes.
She has Gregory nailed.
Yes, absolutely.
Moving on to Simon. Simon is terrifying. The guy who came in to basically plunder the hilltop.
Yeah,
And
he is.
Wow.
He
Just
is
wow.
also on a power trip,
Yeah.
which was very evident when he made Gregory kneel. He wants to be Negan. That's why he's trying to be Negan when he's at Hilltop. If he can't have that type of power over everybody when he's home, he can do it when he's plundering, and he can make them kneel to him.
And you can see just how the way he walks around. He has a very over-exaggerated strut. Like he's totally on a power trip, and
Yes.
he's loving every second of it.
Yes.
Moving on to Carl and Enid. I liked their little story in this episode.
Yeah.
Walking to Hilltop.
Yeah, I liked their story all the way up until the very end when they separated ways and Carl decided to sneak onto one of the trucks.
Yeah. This comes directly from the comic.
Yeah, and I feel like they've already passed the point of doing this story arc.
Yeah.
So, I don't know,
It's-
maybe because Jesus is there too, it'll be a slightly different version of
Yeah,
the story arc.
yeah,
I'm not
for
going to
sure.
give up hope on it.
The big thing is Negan took all the guns from Alexandria, so Carl is unarmed. And in the comic, Carl is pretty heavily armed. And spoiler alert from the comic, if you don't want to know what happened in the comic, mute the video right now. He goes to Sanctuary and shoots the place up and kills a bunch of saviors. Carl in the show has no gun.
Yeah.
Jesus has no gun, so even though Jesus is with him, and maybe they'll totally have to remix the scene from the comic to the screen. I'm not going to
hoping-
shit on it right now,
Yeah.
but I'm going to reserve judgment until after we see it.
Yeah, and I'm right there because having the scene in the house between Negan and Carl when Carl had a gun pointed at his men kind of showed that Negan doesn't give a crap about him, and that's not how the comic arc works.
Yeah.
So like
all we got was Negan said, "I like you," and that was it. But there was no emotion behind it.
Yeah.
In the comic, Negan really does like Carl.
Yeah. So I don't know, like he said, we're gonna remain hopeful and not judge this little story arc until it's gone in completion and we can say whether we liked it or not.
They are going to remix it. Let's just hope it's good.
Yes.
And I think that's pretty much it for this review. If you have anything to add, please let us know down in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed this video, and we really hope you did, tell us by dropping a like on it and subscribe for more reviews.
And thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.